Hi, this is Annoo and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you could join me today. And today, as I promised in my last video, we are going to try to detangle the mystery behind different kind of yarns. Have you ever gone to a yarn store and felt totally overwhelmed? First of all, by the amount of yarn surrounding you. Second of all, trying to decipher and understand what is what. What's the difference between one and the other? And it's daunting, especially for beginners. So today we are addressing that. We are going to try to elucidate the mystery behind the most popular kind of yarn weights. If you are interested and if it is something that you have been struggling with, this is a video for you. And this video is the first of many trying to address the issues that beginners can encounter while beginning to crochet. Let me know if you're interested, and if you are, then we can go back to basics in this yarnology segment and go back to show you how to make a chain, and then the next day showing you how to make a single crochet really slowly, and then the next time a half double crochet, and then evolve like that. And then hopefully one day there will be no mystery for you about crochet. We are going to, like detectives, take one issue at a time and try to solve them together. Are you in? Are you interested? So please feel free to let me know in the comment box down below what is the issue you have been having lately with crochet. Anything, may it be the gauge, may it be what crochet hook to use for what garment, may it be, I don't know, whatever you have been struggling with crochet. Put it in the comment box down below, and then I will try to in the future address your issues one by one in this little yarnology segment. What do you think? Good idea? Let me know. And today we are going to talk about yarn weights. I know that that could be really confusing, especially for beginners, and I wanted to take you through it, and maybe I will help you to understand a little better the difference between the yarns, which is really not complicated once you get it explained to you. And once you are less intimidated when you go into a yarn store and you have all those yarns in front of you and you do not know what to choose, where to go to, maybe today will help you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the yarn weights and how to differentiate between one another. Here is a list of all the yarn weights you can find on the market. This is the list I am going by. You may find different ones on the market, but let's focus on the one I know and I am used to. So what I'm going to do now is take you number by number and show you each and every yarn so we can understand what is the difference between them. And we are going to begin with the thinnest of the yarns, which is the lace yarn. There is actually another yarn that is sometimes even thinner than lace, but today we are going to stick to the 5 or 6 main weights that you need to know about to really understand what weight is all about. All right? So the first one that we're going to look at today is the thinnest of all, and it is called lace weight. So lace weight is really thin. So the way yarn is spun is it's a bunch of fiber that are put together. So for example, when you go into a yarn store where people are talking about plies, 1 ply, 2 ply, 3 ply, 4 plies, the only thing it means is that 1 ply is that your yarn is made spun out of 1 string of yarn. 2 plies has 2 strings of yarn that are twisted together to form your strand of yarn. That's a 2 ply. 3 ply has 3 strands of yarn that are spun together to form your yarn. And 4 is, of course, 4 strings of yarn that are spun together to form your 1 string of yarn that is made out of 4. That's a 4 ply, if I make myself clear. One of the yarn that I really like, I will try to put a picture or a little video right here. But the one that I really enjoy, the Voltrum yarn, which has those ombre and it goes from one color to the next. You can have 2 ply, 3 ply, 4 plies, and it's really cool because, and I will try to show it to you there, they're not twisted together. You can really see the strands. So when you can actually count and see if it's a 3 ply or a 4 ply. But most of the yarns that you will buy in your store, they are all twisted together to create 1 strand, and they're twisted so tight that you cannot differentiate really between 2 or 3 or 4 ply unless it is written on it. All right, so back to our lace. So the way a yarn ball is made is you can look at your yarn and you will see that it gives you the weight. So in this case, this is 50 grams of lace yarn. It is the Creative Reflection print. As a basic rule, the thicker the yarn will be, the less amount of yardage you will have in one skein of yarn. So for a lace yarn, if you take a regular lace yarn, big kind of skein, many of them, for example, you could do one shawl with only one skein of yarn, because you use less fiber to make a thin strand than to make a thick strand, right? And you're paying the price of fiber as a whole. So it takes less fiber with a thin string to make a lot of yarn, and it takes more fiber to make a thick string to get the same amount of yardage. So there is less fiber in a lace strand than in a thick strand. There is more fiber in a thick strand than in a thin strand. Let's say to make this amount of yarn. If you have a lace yarn, it's going to be really thin, and you have a thick yarn, it's going to be a lot of fiber there. Therefore, it's going to be more money for the same yardage. All right, but that's the lace one, so it's the thinnest one. On the little tag of your yarn, you should have it saying 0 and lace. And that means that your yarn is the lace kind. So that is the first one. Let's move to the next one. The next one is number 1. Means it's a fingering yarn. And the fingering yarn, I have an example right here, is a little thicker than the lace one. It is weight 1 and it is called superfine. So we're going thicker and thicker from the thinnest to the thickest. First one was the lace one. Second one will be the fingering one. Fingering one is also called sock yarn, although all fingering yarns are not sock yarn. So to create socks, you have to have a certain kind of yarn, which is of a fingering weight, but very spun really tight to be able to support your foot and to be able to create the tightness of the sock. And you can also have fingering yarn that is way softer, that you could make baby garment with it, but usually fingering yarn is used for socks and for gloves, sometimes for thin garments, and it is one step above the lace. So if you look at your little tag, you will have weight number 1. Again, you will have a tiny bit less of amount of yarn than in the lace for the same weight, because you need a little more fiber to create a strand of fingering yarn than a strand of lace yarn. So we had lace, now then we have fingering, then we have number 2, which is a fine weight. So we had 0, which was lace, then we had number 1, which was super fine, and then now we have number 2, which is fine. As I said, if you look at the little label, you will see a number 2, but it is less thin than the fingering and less thin than the lace one. The sport one is super nice for, and usually used for baby garments. It can be used for a lot of things, but this is the preferred one if you would like to do a baby garment. Of course, you will have, again, less yardage for this one per weight than for the fingering and for the lace, but this is a Barocco yarn that I really like, and I will put, of course, all the information about all the yarn I showed you today in the info box down below. But that is the third weight you will find, with the fine one. Then the next one is number 3, light, the Sport DK. Here I have a Sport DK, which is slightly thicker than the sport, also used for baby garments and so many things. This is a Patterns Beehive Baby Sport, and again you will see light number 3, so it's the same family as the sport and Sport DK. DK stands for double knitting, by the way. Very versatile kind of yarn. All right, and again, as usual, you will have less yardage for the same amount of weight as for the thinner yarn. The next yarn, medium 4, is worsted yarn, so it's 1 level thicker than the Sport DK that we were talking about before. And it's actually my favorite kind of yarn. and it is so versatile. You can basically use it for anything you want. It is the most used yarn of all. When you look at the little label, it says medium 4. And then we have your bulky yarn. Number 5, bulky yarn is really nice for garments for the winter, scarves, hats, gloves to keep you warm. And this specific one is really nice, the scarfy one. I don't know if they still have it, but it's the Lion brand one in scarfy, and they have really nice kind of ombre color that I really like. Okay, and then you have the super bulky, which are the thickest of them. They're super soft, they super fluffy. If you see one strand, there's a lot of fiber to create one strand of a yarn. So of course you will get way less yardage for your weight on those one, but those are amazing for every winter garment you want to do. And the cool thing about them is that they crochet so fast, so you can do projects that can be finished really fast, as opposed to lace, the same thing. Remember the first yarn we had talked about, which takes longer to make garments with. It makes sense. So here we are. So from lace to super bulky, I try to explain to you what is the difference. That is it for today. I hope I have helped you a little bit to detangle the mystery around the weights of different kind of yarns. And I try to make it simple, and it's just the basics. If you are interested in me going back to basics and taking you step by step to really begin from explaining to you how to create a chain, and then the next day explain to you how to create a single crochet, and then a half double crochet, and then a double crochet, and then little by little taking one stitch at a time and make a specific video to teach you how to do that, let me know. I would love to do that. If you're not subscribed to my channel, don't hesitate to do so. It's totally free. What are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button. It's right there down below. Don't hesitate to hit on that little bell to know anytime I post something new. And yeah, that's about it for this time. So see you next time for a tutorial this time. And in the meantime, mwah, happy crochet. Follow me on social media if you would like, and also you can click on my head. I don't know if it's on that side, but when you see my little head in a circle, if you click there, that will take you to the subscribe button as well. All right, and here are the videos if you haven't watched it. More videos of me. Bye. Mwah.